Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in this wonderful, beautiful world. It's another week with Trina Paulus. Ask Trina Anything. My name is Scott, and there is Trina waving to you. And we're just so delighted, both of us, to be able to spend a little bit of time. And man, you've had a busy week last week. And if you thought that you could rest next week, well, watch out, because as I understand it, you've got lots of things also happening this week.
Oh,
So
God,
why don't you say hello?
hello, everybody. Okay, how can you can be 92 and sort of harvesting so much right now and being so busy you don't know where your head is at practically. Well, that's me right now. And so after last week's big stuff, I'm now asked to do another thing with the Koreans this Saturday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to acknowledge that today is the holiest day in the Hebrew calendar, Yom Kippur. And most Jewish people fast, and some of the rest of us do too. And it's a time to look over one's last year and ask for forgiveness and resolve to do better this coming year in terms of loving one's neighbor and working for peace. So I welcome all my Jewish brothers and sisters. And by the way, I've joined the Jewish Vote for Peace, Voice for Peace, Jewish Voice for Peace, an international movement of Jewish people with their allies like me, who's a Catholic, joining together with peace for peace. And it's a privilege to be with my Hebrew speaking and also my Arabic neighbors, whom I worked with in Egypt when I was there. And so I feel in close touch with both of those cultures as well. And we have to pray for peace between these cultures and the rest of the world, and try this special day to stop letting us be clouded by hatred of any person or group in the whole world. We're all basically the same, as I learned when I was with extremely poor girls and helped building a workers' cooperative among these girls in 1966, and then had to be evacuated in 1967 because of the war with Israel, June 1967, Six-Day War. So I was one of the only Americans in the middle, and I was blonde, and I didn't speak good Arabic, so they hustled me off to Cairo so I could leave. So I had this privileged time. I was there several more times afterwards. So, Scott, yes, it's been a busy week. Do you have something more to add in here?
Well, in a little bit, we might look back to the week that we've just finished, but as I understand it, this is the UN Nuclear Disarmament Week, and
Yes.
those who are your compadres, fans, people arm in arm from Korea have invited you to help out, haven't they? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the logical word for this is comrades, but it's fallen on bad times in the United States, I think. So I do feel comrades with them. I feel like I found my niche with them, which is going to happen again and they even picked me up at my house. And so that's a big help for me at 92 to get in by subway and everything else that requires. And so I'm very grateful for that. And so I'm in my red T-shirt, my red sweatshirt, and that's what I wore at the protest. And I'll wear it again on Saturday because it's almost become iconic within the pictures with the Koreans. They have put me in the middle because my book has been known by all the adults Koreans because it was in the school system for so many years. So there I am in the middle, holding up and I'll bring it in again, holding up this, which you've seen with me before, my big posters of the black and white hands together with the word together.
Yeah.
I think you can
and
see what.
And if you take it away, you've got the pin of the hands on your iconic.
And with the hands picture, what's special about it is you take one of those hands away, either the black hand or the white hand in this picture, and the other one doesn't exist. We need the diversity. We need each other so badly across the world, not just racially in this country. And I first made that image of the black and white hands for in 1963 for my first civil rights march, where 30,000 people showed up in Cincinnati in the beginning of the nuclear arms race. And at that time, Pope John the 23rd, who I really love, who wrote Pacem in Terris, that's peace on earth, and he addressed it to all the peoples of the world, and that we could all work together. And he actually used the C word. We can work with communists too. And the Catholic Church was so anti-communist when I was growing up and during my high school years, that this was a great relief to me that we could work for everybody who we stand with toward peace in the world, because that's the most important thing. And in terms of the destruction of the economy and the world and the earth and the climate change, the biggest purveyor of nuclear of climate catastrophe in the whole world is the United States, with its hundreds of military bases around the world, and its aircraft and all its use of fossil fuel, including what we're doing in the Ukraine right now. So it's extremely serious. And so this past weekend, before this high level meeting started on Monday, this weekend that I was at the UN and protesting in front of the Japanese embassy about dumping 1.3 million tons of irradiated water from Fukushima 12 years ago. That was all about climate change that whole weekend. On the Sunday, there was like maybe 75,000 people marching about climate change. But I was there on the Saturday with this particular group of people that I can identify with and feel that they're my brothers and sisters, which is a very beautiful thing. So I'm very grateful for this place in. I've probably been to 50 marches about the nuclear issue over the last 3 or 4 decades. And I was 15 when the bomb was dropped. And I was just 9 when the Pearl Harbor happened. So I remember all these dates. It's like you do when with like 9/11, you remember where you were at. Well, I remember where I was at with each of these dates too. I go back that far. So
Well, you certainly have you have a perspective from so many different ways, not only having lived through the history, but with your book, which is just a manifestation of some of the deeper thoughts and philosophies that you have and that you've been wanting to share with the world and have been for more than 50 years. But this is the 50th anniversary of the Hope for the Flowers
and
book, isn't it?
and and Hope for the Flowers recommends a radical position, but not right or left or political. It represents radical sharing, freely chosen. And both parts of that are very important. And I think that phrase has just come to me recently to put it together like that we have to be very careful about extreme positions on either side. For me, they're starting to sound like each other. And some of them are motivated by hate. We have to find an enemy somehow. And what good does that do? One of the most important things that I've heard intelligent people say is that if you want peace, the first thing you have to do, and you feel you have somebody very opposite than you have to find out where they're coming from and what big interests that are vital to them they're standing for. And if we can't do that with each other, what are we going to do? How is this world going to be? So I don't know how our time is, Scott, and I don't know what you think
Well,
we have time
I
for.
well one of the things I thought might be kind of fun for our audience is to actually see you in action. out on the streets of New York. Last week, as I understand it, you were speaking in front of the Japanese consulate, and
Yes.
thanks to our good friend Russ, who shared some of the video that he shot, we can now share it with our viewing audience. Would you like? Why don't I go ahead and
Go ahead.
we can
For it,
show
Scott.
that now, and then afterwards we'll return to you for a few final words. So
Okay,
here we.
Scott.
And any other introduction that you'd like before we show the video?
Well, it's a big honor at such an occasion to be one of the 10 people speaking. They gave me 2 minutes, and this is a little part of it that Scott chose out. So it's basically it's taken on a handheld camera, which means it's not professionally done, but I thought you'd enjoy it. And you can see how Hope for the Dollars sits in, and you'll see me being held up because this is a very risky territory for me to be coming down steps and then going out and standing there in front of all these people. I'm afraid I'm going to fall over. Okay, so they're holding me up. My Korean men next to me.
So they're holding you up while you're holding them up in your own way. So let's go. Let's go to the video.
We're a team.
And everybody's fine. And if I could say anything, I'm representing the world. That doesn't look there. Not just Korea for Japan or China, but Southeast Asia. Because everybody that belongs here. And this is real climate change stuff. To change the oceans is to change the climate. And so we can't forget, even though the big march will be tomorrow, this is a very lucky one. Thank this co very bad here. And I'm going to say against the word. We have to stop climbing over others. Like in the book. Since you all know, most of you know this book. And it's, if you get to the top as a caterpillar, you are kicked off by the next layer. And you die without ever becoming yourself. So what we have to have is my theme right now, and Hope for the Flowers theme, which is radical sharing, freely chosen. Freely chosen.
Well,
you're on, Trina.
That gives the idea, Scott. So I hope we all can do this. And Yom Kippur is a good day to think about these things. And every day is too. And then we find ways to make peace in our own family and our own home and not make enemies of people we don't happen to agree with. Listen to the people you don't agree with. Try to see their point of view. And then think again about yours. So thank you very much, Scott. Peace to everybody. And I hope to see you next week.